Alright, so Linnea is finally here to make the lunar crystallized meta even more broken, but weapons wise, she's actually one of the weird characters. She doesn't scale with the usual stats, and especially her being a bow user, it makes her weapon selection a little weird to say the least. In this video, I'll be telling you what does she need on a weapon and how you should choose the right weapon for her, and then I'll be ranking all of the weapons in the game in a tier list based around which of them are going to be the best for Linnea. But hold on, if you're trying to wish for the best weapons for Linnea, the best way to get your Genesis crystals is going to be throughout Topuplive. Topuplive offers top-ups for many games, including Genshin Impacts, up to 30% cheaper than official stores. For example, this offer costs $100 on Genshin's official game store, but only costs $72.86 on Topuplive, allowing you to save more than $27. When you'd want to buy, you'd want to click my link in the description or the pinned comment to make sure you get the best deals possible. Then if you see your country at the top, for example here you have USA, then you'd want to click it. If not, you can just use the global one. Then just click the offer you want, type your user ID and region, then click on buy now, pay, and Genesis crystals will shortly be on your account. It also uses PCI security, which means it's 100% safe. And you can also get an additional 12% off by using my code Camilo. Use the link in the description or the pinned comment to find those great deals at Topuplive. Alright, so back to the video. First of all, let's explain her weapon requirements, so I understand based around what I'm going to be ranking those weapons. In general, Linnea is just going to be a support / sub DPS, and she does scale with defense. And most of her damage is just going to be lunar crystallized damage, some of it is going to be elemental skill damage. Also, her supportive capabilities and some of her damage is going to scale with defense, which means she's a pure defense scaling character. So the first stat you'd probably want to have on your weapon in general is probably just going to be defense. The problem is defense is not going to be available almost at all on any bow, not as a substat, not as like a buff from the passive, nothing. So this basically doesn't matter. The second thing you'd want is obviously just going to be crit rate and crit damage. You probably want crit damage first since she already scales with some crit rate, but crit rate is also going to be pretty good. Her damage is going to be able to crit normally, so you'd want to build some crit on her, and your weapon is going to be the best source for you to get that. Elemental mastery is also not going to be too bad since, as I said before, she deals a lot of lunar crystallized damage. Elemental mastery is going to be able to give it like a small bonus. Now, this is not the best thing you'd want to aim for in general, but it's not a bad stat to have on. The last thing you might want to get is going to be energy recharge. This is usually not needed since you'll play her in teams where you have like 2 more GO teammates or something like that. But if you want to get some energy recharge just to guarantee your burst is going to be on uptime, then go for it, especially in teams where you're maybe playing her with just 1 Geo or something like that. But in general, it's not really that needed, so you don't want to focus on it. If anything, you just want to get some substats and that's it. So it's not really the stat you'd want to go for on your weapon specifically, but it's still kind of usable. Alright, now moving on to the weapons, let's rank them in the tier list quickly. First of all, starting off with the 3-star weapons, since she doesn't really scale with attack at all, 3-star weapons are actually going to be potentially decent options, because the base attack is not really going to matter at all. So we have the Raven Bow, is just going to give you elemental mastery. Now, as I explained, elemental mastery is not really the thing you'd want to go for, but it's still sort of like a usable stat. The thing is, it doesn't even give you like that much elemental mastery, it's just 90, so I'll probably keep it as C tier. Sharpshooter's Oath is going to give you crit damage as a substat, which is pretty good. The passive is useless, but it's going to be giving you like 46% crit damage, which is pretty decent. So honestly, I'll probably keep it at B tier. It's not a huge crit damage substat, but it's obviously just not too bad at all. You have the recurve bow, it's going to be HP, so it's going D tier. Slingshot is going to be a good weapon. It's going to give you crit rate as a substat, which is super good. Passive is not really usable, but the crit rate substat is actually going to be pretty valuable. It's not a small substat. It's going to be giving you 31% crit rate. With crit rate being her ascension stat, you effectively have enough crit rate just with this weapon and your like base Linnea, so you don't really need much at all. You can just focus on crit damage and you're gonna be good. So yeah, honestly, even as a 3-star, it's probably gonna be one of her best weapons. I'd keep it at A tier. You have the messenger, it's gonna be crit damage, but it's a very small amount of crit damage, so I'd keep it at just B tier. You have the ebony bow, it's just attack, so I'd definitely just keep it at D tier. Now moving on to the 4-star options, we have the Favonius. She's more of like a sub DPS support rather than energy support, so you don't really want to be wasting her damage by using the Favonius, so I'd just keep it at C tier honestly. Even though energy recharge is a little valuable for her, not completely useless, but it's definitely not the weapon you'd want to use. You have the Stringless, it's just going to be elemental mastery, a decent amount of elemental mastery too, and as I said before, it might help her a little bit with damage. Not the best thing you can get, but it's not terrible either, so I'll probably keep it like either low B tier or high C tier. I'll keep it low B tier. It's also going to increase your elemental skill damage, which is a small part of your damage, but it's still decent, so I'll just keep it at very low B tier. Sacrificial bow is going to be energy recharge, and then the skill reset, it's not really going to be that useful. I keep it low C tier. Royal Bow is just attack, so it's D tier. Rust's attack is D tier. Prototype Crescent attack is D tier 2. Compound Bow is just physical damage, also D tier. That's gonna be very fast. Blackcliff Warbow is gonna be giving you crit damage, but also not a huge amount of crit damage. The passive here is gonna be fully useless. Even if you do manage to defeat opponents, the attack is not really gonna be valuable at all, so it just completely doesn't matter. So I'd keep it low A tier, low B tier, probably low A tier, just as a crit damage stat stick, but it doesn't even give you that much crit damage. So yeah, just keep it at very low A tier. Iridescent Hunt is gonna be much better. It's gonna be giving you crit rate, but it's gonna give you much more like stat value than the Blackcliff Warbow. So I'll just keep it at A tier, just right above the Blackcliff. Alley Hunter is just attack and then some damage bonus, basically useless almost, so I'll just keep it at D tier 2. Fade in Twilight is just energy recharge. Passive is just damage bonus, which is not really needed, so I'll keep it at C tier 2. Middernat's Waltz is just gonna be physical damage. It's gonna increase your elemental skill damage and give you some damage bonus for it, but as I said before, your elemental skill damage is not gonna be like the biggest part of your damage, so it doesn't really matter much. I'll probably keep it like D tier or very low C tier. I keep it low C tier, but you definitely don't want to use it as a weapon. Windbloom Ode is gonna be elemental mastery. Basically, that's all you're getting from this weapon. I keep it like low B tier 2. Hamayumi is just attack. It's going D tier. Predator also attack, D tier. Moon's Moon attack, and then it's gonna increase your elemental burst damage by a little bit, but it doesn't really matter much, so I just keep it at D tier 2. King's Squire is also gonna be attack. It's gonna give you some elemental mastery though from the passive, so I just keep it at C tier, but it's also not the weapon you want to go for. End of the line is gonna be energy recharge. The passive is completely useless. It's just some extra damage, and it scales with attack, which you won't be building on Linnea, so probably low C tier. Ibis Piercer, it's also attack. Passive is not the best one. It can give you some elemental mastery, but you probably won't be able to trigger it even because you need to charge attack, which is not really feasible. I guess you can use it, but it's not the best weapon. Just keep it low C tier, but yeah, you don't really want to use it. Scion of the Blazing Sun. It's going to give you crit rate as a substat, which is usable, but it's going to be a very small substat. It'll give you like 18% crit rate, which is not great. The rest of the passive is basically useless, so I keep a B tier just for the crit rate, but it's not a great weapon in general. Song of Stillness, just attack 2, and then maybe some damage bonus, that's just D tier. Cloud Forged is going to be elemental mastery. I keep a low B tier 2, just for the elemental mastery. It can give you quite a decent amount, but it's not really the stat you want to look for. Range Gouge, it's just attack. It's also going to give you more attack and damage bonus from the passive, which is not really useful, so I just keep it D tier. Flower Redded Feathers, attack 2, D tier. Chain Breaker attack is D tier. Sequence of Solitude, it's going to be HP, D tier. Snare Hook, energy recharge, and then it can give you up to 120 elemental mastery from the passive. Mostly you're going to be playing Linnea with another Notcry character, so it's going to be easy to achieve. So it's 120 elemental mastery with some energy recharge, not terrible, but also not the best. I'd also keep it a low B tier. Rainbow Serpent's Rainbow, energy recharge, and then some attack. I'd keep it C tier. So as you guys can see, there's a lot of these weapons just fully not usable on her. She's very specific about what she needs. Moving on to the 5-star weapons, it's not going to be much better, honestly. So yeah, starting off with the Skyward Harp, it's going to give you a small amount of crit rate from the passive because it's a high base attack, low substat weapon, which is not the best for Linnea, but it's still a decent amount. It's going to give you like 22% crit rate, which is not bad. It's also going to give you 20% crit damage, so it's definitely not terrible at all. I'd probably keep a low A tier just next to the Blackcliff. Small amount of crit rate, small amount of crit damage. Not great, but usable. Amos Bow is just going to be attack, so it's going straight to D tier. LG for the end is going to be energy recharge. It can also give you some elemental mastery. It can also buff your party members with some attack. So if you're playing her with attack main DPSs, it can be a decent support weapon. But in general, I don't know if I like it on Linnea. I feel like she's more of a sub DPS. Like her support does heal you, but she's not meant to be played with a support weapon in my opinion. You'd want to focus on her damage a little bit. But nonetheless, if you want to, it's definitely usable. Obviously, if your main DPS needs attack in the first place, a lot of the main DPSs you play with her are just going to be defense scale and main DPSs. So it depends, obviously. But in general, I'll just keep it at mid B tier. It's not a terrible weapon, but it's definitely not the best weapon. Polar Star is going to give you some crit rate as a substat, 33% crit rate, which is pretty good. It can also give you some damage bonus from the elemental skill and burst, which is not that useful, but but also not useless. In general, I'll just keep it high A tier just for the crit rate. Not a bad weapon, but it's not super great. Aqua Simulacra is going to be giving you a huge amount of crit damage, and then 20% damage bonus basically, which is pretty decent in my opinion. It's going to be giving you 88% crit damage, which is what Linnea likes. She likes weapons with a low base attack and a super high substat, and Aqua Simulacra fills that perfectly. So honestly, I'd say it's an S tier weapon. Definitely low S tier, but in general, it's not a bad weapon at all. Thunder Impulse is going to be a crit damage substat, an average substat for a 5-star weapon, but it's still going to be pretty decent. The rest of the passive is basically useless, so you can just use it as a crit damage stat stick. I'd keep it next to the Polar Star, so I'd just keep it A tier. I'd keep it above it because it's crit damage, which is slightly more valuable, but in general, it's almost the same thing. Hunter's Bat is going to have low base attack and also a huge crit rate substat. It's going to be giving you 44% crit rate, which is pretty good. It can also give you 12% elemental damage bonus, which is decent. So I'd also keep it at low S tier below the Aqua Simulacra, but it's definitely still a decent weapon. It's one of the best weapons you can use for sure, at least for like Linnea standards. So yeah, I keep it low S tier. The first magic guide is basically also a crit damage stat stick, so I'll just keep it next to the Polar Star and then Thunder Impulse. Just keep it A tier. Silver Shower Heartstrings is gonna be just HB. Honestly, it's basically almost a fully useless weapon, so I'll just keep it D tier. Chaska's weapon, also the same thing basically, so I'll just keep it next to the Polar Star and those weapons. I'll just keep it A tier, just a crit damage stat stick. Venti's new weapon is not gonna be the greatest. It's gonna have super high base attack and then a crit damage substat, which is not the best thing, but the crit damage substat is still gonna be decent, so I'll just keep it a low A tier. And then finally we have her signature weapon. I'm gonna do a separate video to review this weapon in general. It's like a value weapon for your account, but in short, it's just gonna have a low base attack, crit damage as a substat, and then give you some defense, which is literally the first defense stat you can get from a bow in the game. This game has been around for like 6 years now. Literally no bow gives you defense in any form at all. No passive buffs, no substats, nothing. So yeah, this is the first bow that gives you some defense, just 16%, and then it basically just buffs your lunar crystallized damage, which is tailor-made for Linnea, and also your geo damage. So it also buffs the small parts of your damage that you deal from your elemental skill and elemental burst and stuff like that. And it can also buff the rest of your party members geo damage, which is pretty decent. So yeah, that's definitely gonna be her top S tier weapon, obviously. As you guys can see here, she doesn't really have many weapon options, but I wouldn't say she's not free to play friendly, because at the end of the day, you can just use 3-star weapons, something like the slingshot, for example, or the sharpshooters, just simple 3-star weapons, and they can just completely do the job fine. They're basically on par with just other 5-star weapons. So even though she doesn't have many options, she does have cheap options that everyone has. So I would say she's free to play friendly in terms of like weapon wise. But yeah, that was the video, guys. Tell me your opinions in the comments. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video. Peace.